So it's finally a warm and sunny day after a nasty snowstorm. Now that I've diagnosed where that sound is coming from with that whine, I'm not going to reproduce it again because you've already had enough of that. I was able to order from Rock Auto a replacement water pump. Same brand as the original, the fan clutch. I'm sure these have probably never been touched, so I figured if I'm going to replace the water pump, I might as well replace the fan clutch as well. Being that I'm going to be draining all of the coolant, I'm going to go ahead and replace all my hoses for the coolant lines. So upper and lower radiator hoses. From O'Reilly's, I went and got a handful of the proper sized coolant hoses, heater hoses as well. I'm going to struggle to get back behind the engine and replace the hose of death along with a couple of other ones that are very hard to get to and typically blow out when you're least expecting it, allowing you the opportunity to destroy your engine while doing 60 miles an hour down the highway. So I'm going to replace all of those things so it's something that I won't have to even consider worrying about them anymore. I'll be honest, I'm a little overwhelmed by it all because once again, this is the very first time that I have ever done this. When you look in the engine, it's a lot of hoses, a lot of pre-formed hoses, and I'm hoping I can put all this back together without having any kinks or any problems because it's hard to get your hands on those pre-formed hoses like was on the original. Hope you enjoy this and learn something and share it with someone else. If you look down here, you're looking at the radiator. The very first thing I want to do is drain the coolant out. Is I put a catch basin down below, then I put a funnel because it's toxic for animals. So I'm going to try to have it run down the funnel and into the thing. I'm going to do it slow. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this upper radiator hose off. Seated all the way on. Next thing I'm going to do is take this heater hose off. Wow, that one is fused on there. Got it. Wow, that was crazy. So this heater hose runs underneath the new radiator hose that I just put in from here, and they're a bear to get off. So it's running over here to this, I assume you'd call that a T, and I'm trying to do this in such a way not to put so much pressure on it that it breaks that hard line, because I would be up the creek if that happens. And see, that's a preformed hose. And so now I'm going to have to go back with just some cut hose. So that should be the 5/8 heater hose. That's what needs to go there. You can't see it on your side, but I'm going to trim it to about that much off. Yep. I'm going to have to clamp this and then undo this because this part spins freely. Okay, there's all 4 of those. So down underneath here, there's a bracket on the back side that runs across to the alternator. So I need to take it off in order to be able to pull the water pump off. Okay, the bracket bolt down below is 14 mil, and I've got it loosened. Okay, so there's the bracket bolt. Get it off with the washer. Okay, so those are going to be a 12, 6 bolts total. That's a short one down there, so short's on the right. And long one's on the left. And the bottom. Oops, there it goes. Well, that's one way to do it. Okay, so take note. That's what happens when you don't drain the petcock on the side of the engine. It's still got a lot of fluid in it. The way this works is you get your paper gasket. It's got to go on there like so. And that's just going to pop right back in there. There's a little bit of assembly required because you have to pop these screws into this outer wheel. So there you go. That takes care of the coupling and the water pump, pulleys back together, brackets back on, all that stuff is done. That radiator hose comes around, connects up above your alternator, which this has been something that people have complained about, is that this hose up in here will tend to leak. And that's also where your thermostat is. Here comes some coolant. Not much. I used a vice grip to squeeze and lock the jaws of the clamp together, and then I used a picking tool on the other end and worked the two off. Got it. Okay. I think that hose has seen its better day. Alright, so one thing I did to make this work was I trimmed the end of the hose. The hose that I ordered from Rock Auto, it's a Gates hose. It was pretty long, quite a bit longer than it needed to be, so I went ahead and trimmed it to the length of the original hose, and it fits so much better. There you go. Good and good. So that takes care of the upper radiator hose and the lower radiator hose down there. So now it's a matter of getting all of these little hoses done. But there are little hoses under here. There's that guy, I think, that needs to be changed. There's also coolant lines. The hose of death is back behind your EGR. So I might end up cutting into the rear panel to get to that, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it otherwise. So we'll see what happens with that. Day 2 is down. Gonna keep going.